Be a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes. $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck, taxed. Your property, taxed. Everything you buy, taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5, paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
U.S. Central Command says it completed an 11th straight night of attacks on Iran. Officials are seeking to deteriorate Tehran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump said this yesterday about the ongoing fighting.
If we left today, it would take them decades to rebuild, and I don't believe they could ever rebuild. And honestly, they haven't seen anything yet. We've been nice. We've been nice.
Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told lawmakers yesterday the cost of the war has risen to $37.5 billion.
406, and welcome into the Wednesday, July 22nd edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps. As you heard it on that clip, it's day 11th of the offensive against Iran. We'll talk about that and much more today. If you are watching on our stream, you see that my partner Tim Jones is not in studio once again. He is in sunny Florida, the city of Orlando. Tim, we got San Diego weather today. It's really nice here.
I heard that the heat wave finally broke. I'm looking forward to coming back to the Heartland on Friday evening.
All right. And you were there, of course, for the annual ALEC conference. Any details or developments there you want to hit us up with?
We heard from famous pollster Scott Rasmussen this morning. He kicked off one of the breakfast meetings I attended this morning, and he had some very important and interesting factoids about socialism, about America's views on socialism. It was really fascinating. So, Chris, apparently some Americans, a minority Americans, are interested in the title socialism, like because it's something different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start asking them about like the free market and whether or not government should be picking winners and losers and whether or not government should be running things, Chris, they basically give answers that are in support of capitalism. So like they like the word socialism, I guess, because it sounds nice. But then when you tell them what socialism is, they don't find it favorable, but they do find the aspects of free market capitalism more appealing. So we have obviously a massive education crisis in this country if people don't understand what socialism actually is or what it will actually do.
Yeah, if you hear it on the surface and you hear the DSA and their adherents talk about socialism, why wouldn't we want free health care? Why wouldn't we want free college? Why wouldn't we want free things that we apparently don't have to pay for and that the rich will be paying for instead? Sounds good, but, there's an old famous saying from, I think, Margaret Thatcher or someone over there in England said that, you end up running out of other people's money with socialism. So I'm glad that is a happy development there. Did you remind Mr. Rasmussen that we had him on our show a couple of months ago?
He was running in and out and all over the place. I did see him later in the day, but he was on a conference call. I didn't want to bother him. I think he may be around the rest of the week. So if I get a chance to see him where he's not otherwise occupied, I will remind him of that. Chris, tomorrow we're going to hear from another fellow who's frequently on our radio station. In fact, he's got his little podcast product up on the weekends. Stephen Moore, the famous economist, will be speaking with us tomorrow morning here at the ALEC event. And this afternoon, as part of the Speaker Stump Speech, we're going to have a friend of Stephen Moore's on, a guy who works with him on a lot of things. Jonathan Williams, the president and the chief economist at ALEC, will be calling in from the conference. It's a big conference, Chris. They broke all records this week, over 1,700 attendees, well above and beyond pre-COVID numbers. They fully rebounded and then some. And there are legislators here from all 50 states, over 500 legislators. The Missouri delegation is 20 members strong. So we have some of our best friends from the House and the Senate here. And they're all learning about free markets, limited government, and federalism.
And as I look at my show sheet that is produced by our excellent producer, Joey V., I see that Jonathan Williams, president of ALEC, will be your Speaker Stump Speech guest today.
Yep. Chris, he's going to talk about some of the other highlights of the meeting. He'll be talking about what Missouri can do to increase its standing in the annual Rich States, Poor States compendium that comes out every year. Missouri did go up a few notches. We still have a lot of work to do. I think we're in the top 20 now, though. We went up about 4 or 5 spots. We were in the bottom 25, but we jumped back up into the top 25. And I know Jonathan will have a few thoughts, Chris, about Missouri's Amendment 5 on our ballot Tuesday, August 4th, to eliminate our income tax and provide property tax relief.
As we heard in that clip, this is day 11 of the continued offensive against Iran. Today, the president was at Dover Air Force Base. He witnessed the dignified transfer to honor the lives of Lieutenant Tyler Feehan, Sergeant Michael Swinton, Sergeant Angel Rampersad, and Private Isabella Gonzalez. Isabella was the youngest of those casualties. She was 19 years old. The president made a remark after visiting the site, visiting the Air Force Base, and he said, and what we said yesterday, he said, "For me, it's one of the hardest things to do as president, but it has to be done." Solace for the families, of course, but he is president of the United States, and his first duty is to keep Americans safe. And we've talked about how Iran has been a 47-year threat of this nation. They are seeking to acquire ballistic missiles. They're seeking to acquire the atomic weapons. as well, and that is a threat that we have to stop.
Yep, they absolutely want to continue enriching uranium. Iran has been on a terroristic path for decades. They are the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, and I think we say that all the time. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fact. What does that mean? It means that Iran exists as a nation, as a state, to export terrorism. That's one of their biggest exports beyond oil. They have two exports, oil and terrorism. They are the ones that support all of those proxies that we often speak about in the Middle East, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. I mean, if it wasn't for Iran, I doubt that the Houthis, the Hezbollah, and Hamas would exist. Not in the form they exist now, that's for sure. They wouldn't have someone constantly funneling millions of dollars to them, weapons, intelligence, et cetera, and so forth. Iran is a super bad actor. We have a lot of them in the world, but they seem to be one of the worst. They're basically at the top of the axis of evil. And this president, Donald Trump, has been the only president. Every president has said the same things. Iran can never get a nuclear weapon. Iran is the world's largest state sponsor of terror. Iran is responsible for the deaths and injuries of tens of thousands of Americans. We have to stop them, but nobody's ever taken action to this level. Donald Trump's the first one to do it. And I think at this point, he needs to finish the job. The only wars, the only incursions, the only military actions the U.S. ever loses are the ones that it fails to carry through because of political pressure. It's time to end this once and for all so we don't have to keep going round and round on this merry-go-round until the end of time.
And we know at this stage of the war, Iran's only real leverage is to try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and use their proxies, the Houthis, to shut down a narrow waterway in the Red Sea that the Saudi Arabians use to export oil. The president said on True Social today that the U.S. will, quote, bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including near Tehran, for every ship that Iran targets. So the president upping his rhetoric. He said that he was going to start targeting infrastructure, and I think that will be coming in the coming days. Of course, the Democrats are adamantly against this war, and they're going to try to use it in the midterm elections to score points. House Democratic leaders, Tim, are preparing to force another vote on an Iran powers resolution that's co-sponsored by your favorite senator or your favorite socialist, Representative Pramila Jayapal of Washington. They're expected to debate that later today, hoping for a vote tomorrow. But I'm hearing that the House may adjourn tomorrow for their August 1st recess, denying that Iran powers resolution.
Yeah, it's really shocking that we literally now have sitting congressmen and women who are working as hard as they can against America's best interests. And we literally have people now running for office unabashedly as the Democrat Socialists of America. They've put out their platform. If people don't believe us or think we're being funny, look up the DSA party platform. It includes things like truly eradicating various institutions that we've had in this country since its founding, like the U.S. Senate. They want to eradicate the U.S. Senate. They want to pack the Supreme Court. If they even want to, I'm surprised they want to keep the Supreme Court. I'm surprised they just don't want to have like some kind of special envoy who decides judicial issues. These are dangerous people. Yeah, these are dangerous people. The Democratic Party of your parents and of your grandparents is dead and buried. And you now have a choice between a party that wants America to continue, a patriotic party, and one that literally wants to destroy it from the inside out.
We know that the midterm elections are, of course, in November, and that is coming upon us very, very soon. Politico has a new poll out today. They polled MAGA Republicans, and it said that just 37% of the MAGA base said the U.S. should continue its involvement in Iran, even if it increases costs. That's down from 13 points from May. Me personally, Tim, I think that the president has to have some type of positive resolution to this conflict by September. That will give time for gas prices to come down and for the Republicans to focus on the economy and affordability and all of the positive things that were passed in the big, beautiful bill. But a positive thing within this poll, though, it suggests that voters still trust Republicans more on violent crime, fraud, and the economy.
Yeah, I bet you they trust them more on border security and immigration as well. those are the issues that Republicans need to pound. This is supposed to be a really bad year for Republicans. If there was a Democratic president in power, it'd be a bad year for Democrats. So it's just historical. However, the Democrats are trying really, really, really hard not to take advantage of that because of their insane policies. And Chris, as I was getting ready for the show today here in the room, I had on the television, and Donald Trump is taking our advice. He was on the road today in Georgia.
Right.
And he did a big rally, and he focused heavily on two things, the economy and electoral integrity. He brought 2 Georgia families up on the stage, young families. Chris, it's sad. I guess Republicans have to play this game too. We had a white family and we had a black family, so whatever, that's fine. They all looked lovely, and they all looked very happy. And that's fine. Well, the Republican Party's diverse too. Okay, people, fine. And it was really cool because these were young families. And Chris, guess what? They each had like 4 kids. I was like, whoa, young American families with a lot of kids. That's great. That's different. And you know what they talked about? Trump accounts. They were very happy about the Trump accounts, and they thanked the president. And these were like motivated families. They were all entrepreneurs. They were all running their own businesses. The one guy joked about the fact that they started this business and then his wife fired him so she could become the CEO. It was very funny. But I think those are the kind of moments, and it showed a very human side of Donald Trump. While the one dad was talking, the one little young kid reached up and was holding the president's hand while the dad was talking. Those are the moments Donald Trump needs to show the nation as we head towards this midterm, that he is the president for all Americans. He's the president for young Americans, for entrepreneurial Americans, Americans that don't want to be socialist Americans.
And speaking of elections, I wanted to touch on this yesterday, but we didn't get a chance to cover it. Post-Dispatch made a very interesting announcement a couple of days ago, Tim. They announced that they will no longer give endorsements for partisan elections. The endorsements they gave in August will be it. Now, they did say that they will give endorsements in general elections, but they will no longer do primary election endorsements any longer. It makes me wonder, is part of that reasoning because, one, people don't really pay attention to endorsements anymore? Or is it 2, is because the Hoffman family, who I would assume are more of a conservative bent, is that a reason why they have decided not to do political endorsements anymore? What's your thoughts on that? Yeah. Also, they're following in the footsteps. The New York Times and Chicago Tribune announced earlier this year that they, too, would no longer do political endorsements.
Well, yeah, it could be, maybe the Hoffmans are political agnostics, or maybe they're more centrist, or maybe they're center-right. I don't know. But maybe they're looking at this going, our endorsements are ridiculous because all that the papers do is endorse Democrats, right? So they're like, if it was a mixed bag and they could point to some back and forth and some fairness, some fair and equal, maybe they'd continue them. But if you're just gonna automatically knee jerk and endorse all the Democrats and endorse against all the Republicans, then you become a laughingstock and a joke, and most people probably don't pay attention to your endorsements anymore because they just know what they're going to be.
We have a big show lined up for you today. Of course, on Wednesdays, we speak with Zack Smith. He's a senior legal fellow at the foundation. We're going to talk about an interesting case the Supreme Court has agreed to hear about a pilot in Alaska whose plane was confiscated over a 6-pack of beer. So we'll dive into that with Zack Smith. Chris's Corner today, the whitest wing of the Democratic Party, WHITEST. I will dive into that and explore that at 4:45. Speaker Stump Speech.
Yeah, ALEC is about what? ALEC is about what? Well, we'll learn what ALEC is all about, why I'm at this ALEC meeting, what the heck we're doing here. Jonathan Williams, the president, the chief economist of ALEC, will join us at 5:05.
And at 5:23, we'll speak with Mike Archer. He's a St. Louis County councilman in the 6th District. He has proposed a resolution on prostate cancer awareness. And as you know, I am a prostate cancer survivor. So we'll have the councilman in the studio talking about that resolution and some of the goings-on in the St. Louis County Council. All that coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. from the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, let me tell you about another place that I wholeheartedly endorse, and I actually go there myself. It is the Dental Link. It's run by Dr. Link and his son, Andrew, and I always tell you right away, you can tell it's different. It doesn't feel like one of those cold clinical offices. It feels like a place where people actually enjoy working there, and that's because Dr. Link and his son run it. Dr. Link is a wonderful man. We've had him in the studio many times. Great sense of humor. He will take care of you. Now, for me, this, of course, is personal. I've had dental implants done at the Dental Link. That's no small thing. It's serious dental work. And they walked me through the whole process, step by step, no pressure, no confusion, just straight answers, making sure I was comfortable the whole time. And if you've been putting something like that off because you're nervous, hey, I get it, but here's what you should know. They offer many dental implants, which are less invasive. They have a quicker recovery and a lot less discomfort than the traditional route. I tell you this, getting my implants done was a game changer. It really was. They look natural, they feel natural, and honestly, it gave me a level of confidence back I didn't even realize I was missing. If you've been thinking about dental implants or any type of dental work, just go talk to them. The Dental Link is in Baldwin, right there at 141 and Manchester, or you can also give them a call at 636-496-8584, or check them out at thedentallink.com, thedentallink.com. Do good, do it well, have fun doing it. That's their motto.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Window World. Did you know that Window World offers a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? They are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World St. Louis has been owned and operated by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years, and now Window World is offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today, 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. Tim Whitney has spent nearly 24 years serving Jefferson County through the Sheriff's Office. As a former SWAT commander, he has led under pressure, made critical decisions, and understood what it means to be prepared when leadership matters most. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, Tim helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability. Tim Whitney brings the kind of real-world executive experience Jefferson County needs in its next county executive.
I'm Tim Whitney. Jefferson County isn't just where I've served. It's where my wife and I are raising our family and where we've chosen to build our life. I'm running for county executive because I believe our county's future matters. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home. I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Paid for by Friends of Tim Whitney, Heather Missy Treasurer.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The Supreme Court says it'll hear a case on whether an airplane was improperly seized over a six-pack of beer. In 2012, pilot and private airline owner Ken Jope was set to fly a passenger to an Alaskan village that prohibits alcohol. But before takeoff, state troopers searched the plane and found beer the passenger was bringing to her husband. Jope denied knowing about the beer, but officers reported at least one six-pack was visible. They charged Jope and his passenger with knowingly bringing alcohol to a dry village, and he was sentenced to 3 days in jail and a $1,500 fine. Then last April, the Alaska Supreme Court ruled the state could seize his $95,000 airplane.
Oh, it's all perfectly legal.
You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
Zach, I think we're going to have to add to your title. Besides being senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, you are now a budding TV, radio, and social media star as well. That's still going well?
Well, Chris, I'm not a real lawyer. I just play one on talk radio every now and again. So happy to do it.
All right, you heard that clip there about the pilot there in Alaska had a six-pack of beer in his plane. I was kind of thinking that maybe he was drinking it, but apparently he was just trying to bring it home to a dry county. Is this government overreach to put him in jail and also try to seize his plane?
Well, if he's drinking it, Chris, I don't want to be flying on that plane.
I don't either.
But that wasn't the issue in this case. The issue in this case is actually a very interesting case. It's an excessive fines challenge. Did the state seizing his plane, which he valued at about $95,000, was that disproportionate to the offense he was convicted of? In addition to having his plane seized, he was sentenced to 3 days behind bars, a $1,500 fine. But clearly the forfeiture of this $95,000 plane was the biggest penalty he faced. And he alleges that violates the Eighth Amendment's prohibition on excessive fines. Now, when he went to the Alaska Supreme Court rejected his argument, and so that's why he is now at the U.S. Supreme Court, and it'll be interesting to see what the Supreme Court does. The last thing I'll quickly say about this, Chris, what's particularly interesting about this case, a lot of people don't realize, most of the protections in the Bill of Rights have been incorporated, applied against the state for many, many years. But the Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause was not formally incorporated to apply against the states until 2019 in a case called Timms versus Indiana. So there's a lot of uncharted territory to cover here, and this will be a very interesting and very closely watched case, I suspect. You mentioned my budding social media career. If folks are interested, I post about it on my Instagram and YouTube page at Zack on Law, at ZACK on Law, or on my X page at TZ Smith.
Zack, I am back in your home state of Florida with all of your powers and titles. I'm wondering if you can make me an honorary Floridian since I'm down here so often.
Well, I'm just a simple country lawyer, Tim, from the panhandle of Florida, so I don't have a lot of power. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, come on down. Honor Floridian status bestowed.
Zack, I'm down in the House of the Mouse. I'm in the Orlando area for the ALEC meeting. Zack, there's lots of heritage folks running around here. Several of your colleagues I've run into today. They're all having a great time.
Say hello to my colleague, my relatively new colleague, Don Palmer. Don used to be a member of the Election Assistance Commission. He is a great wealth of knowledge on election integrity measures. And I won't speak for Don, but I suspect if you ask him, in fact, I know he will, if you ask him, talk about how important it is to pass the Save America Act and to enact common sense election integrity reforms like requiring a voter ID in order to vote.
Yeah, he reminded us, I ran into him, Zack, and he reminded us that we interviewed him one of the weeks when you were out, and he said that he's happy to bump you anytime. Zack, I wanted to ask you, there's so much I wanted to ask you about, so many things that happened today, but Zack, I'd love for you to weigh in on crazy comrade Mondami up there in New York, threatening to arrest Benjamin Yahoo. Zack, this was nothing more than another ridiculous Democrat Socialist of America stunt, wasn't it? For many reasons.
Well, I'm disgusted by the entire thing, Tim. I won't hide the ball. I think this was, frankly, unfortunately, an effort to pander to some of the anti Semitic elements of his electoral base. Obviously, pro Palestinian feeling is very prevalent among many far left groups. And so that's what this effort was about, I suspect, from a political matter. Now, from a legal angle, Mamdani had to know that he never had the authority to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, the United States rightly does not recognize arrest warrants from the International Criminal Court. We are not a party to proceedings before that court, and apparently rightfully so, if they were going to issue arrest warrants for the Israeli prime minister. And I would say to Mayor Mamdani, if he tries to arrest President or Prime Minister Netanyahu, good luck with that. He will quickly find himself the subject of a federal arrest warrant, I suspect.
Speaking with Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Also on the ICC, Secretary of State Marco Rubio proclaimed last week that the U.S. will, quote, dismantle the International Criminal Court. Zack, give us a brief history on the ICC. Why was it established, and why doesn't the United States recognize it?
Well, look, what Marco Rubio said is music to my ears. And basically, look, the ICC is this kind of amalgamation of international entities that's supposed to bring international wrongdoers to justice. But keep in mind, all the way back in 2002, Congress passed a law called the American Service Members Protection Act, and it prohibits cooperation with an arrest warrant from this international court, frankly, this rogue international court. And so because of that, the idea was we don't want to subject American service members, American citizens, to this supranational court. If the Americans commit a crime, then we as a country will deal with it. And I think, unfortunately, we've seen this, court, and I use that term very loosely, weaponized to push forward really a radical leftist agenda in too many instances.
Mm-hmm. And Zack, you just made reference to the fact that if proving that this was a purely political stunt, Mamdani has zero power to do anything that he's threatening to do. But I heard an analysis last night and a specific citation. It might have been from Professor Jonathan Turley, who cited two specific sections of U.S. code whereby people of Netanyahu's stature, and it would be similar. It would be any similar other situated foreign official cannot be. There's a specific prohibition in our law as to that. And secondly, Zack, I noticed that Mamdani's not threatening to arrest any actual tyrants or dictators, people who have actually committed genocide in their nations, the ones who come to the UN. Right? The hypocrisy runneth over with this guy.
Well, it's the old saying, for my friends, anything, for my enemies, the law, right, is kind of what many of the leftists do. But those two prohibitions you mentioned, Tim, if Mamdani actually arrested Netanyahu, or tried to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, who had been violating its 22 U.S.C. 7423, and that essentially, I'll just read it. It's a prohibition on cooperation with the International Criminal Court, and the statute says no agency or entity of any state or local government may cooperate with the International Criminal Court in response to a request for cooperation submitted by the court. The other statute I suspect that Professor Turley or whoever you're listening to mentioned was 18 U.S.C. Section 112. It's called an Act for the Protection of Foreign Officials and Official Guests of the United States. And that one says whoever assaults, strikes, wounds, imprisons, and that's the key term, imprisons or offers violence to a foreign official, official guest, or internationally protected person shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. And I think it's pretty clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu would qualify as a foreign official, official guest, and an internationally protected person. Now, the other interesting aspect of this, there was actually an article in the Washington Post today talking about this. If Mayor Mamdani tried to send NYPD officials to arrest them, well, they would presumably be armed, carrying their service weapon. That 18 U.S.C. 112 law says that anyone who uses a deadly or dangerous weapon to help violate this law shall be fined or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. So these are very, very serious offenses.
Can you imagine Mamdani trying to have Netanyahu arrested with Netanyahu probably having Mossad bodyguards? Probably wouldn't go very well. We just had a recently completed court term, Supreme Court, Zach. I'm seeing here that a tracker says that there are 38 emergency applications on the docket involving the second Trump administration. That was as of July 21st. Do you see any of these emergency applications being ruled on?
It would be unusual for them to be ruled on over the summer, Chris. You know, the summer is typically when the justices get out of Dodge. They enjoy their sweet teaching gigs, many times, often in Europe, other very scenic locales. So I would be surprised if they get ruled on before the justices come back and begin their new term in October. Now, of course, if something needs to be heard on a very expedited basis, you know, certainly the justices can weigh in if they need to. But one of the interesting cases, I will tell you, one of the non-Supreme Court cases I'm watching that I think will be interesting and may make its way to the Supreme Court on a very expedited basis is a case out of the state of Washington. You may have heard the district court judges there tried to appoint a U.S. attorney over the administration's objections. The administration immediately fired him, put their own person back in charge of the office. And so that judge-appointed U.S. attorney is now suing, saying he should get that position. This is something I've been talking about since the first Trump administration. The federal statute that allows federal district court judges to appoint an executive branch official, a U.S. attorney, is incredibly problematic from a constitutional separation of powers perspective. And yet, we've really never gotten a definitive statement from the Supreme Court on whether that arrangement, which has been in place in some form or fashion since really right after the Civil War, whether that in fact is constitutional. And so I think that'll be a very interesting, very closely watched case by a lot of folks.
Zach, did you testify before Congress today, or is that coming up later this week?
I did. Fresh out of the House Oversight Committee hearing.
I saw that on your Twitter feed, which folks should monitor because it's always got late breaking news on it. TZ Smith. Zach, one of our favorite subjects, because you and I'm a recovering attorney, and I know you try to stay one step ahead of these ne'er-do-wells who are running the American Bar Association and other bar associations in our country. Zach, the American Bar Association has become nothing more. We often complain about what happens in our colleges. Well, it happens in our advanced degree institutions as well, Zach, doesn't it? And the American Bar Association has become nothing more than an arm of the leftist radicals pushing racism and DEI and CRT and other woke stuff. And I think that you are weighing in on that on a congressional level, right?
Yeah, it was. This was a hearing by the task force of the House Oversight Committee. This task force is being chaired by Representative Brandon Gill. And today's topic was the weaponization of the ABA and the weaponization of its accrediting power. And so I testified alongside the ABA president and then also a former law student who left law school because of the outrageous DEI struggle sessions he and his classmates had been subjected to. But unfortunately, it's very clear to me, the ABA has taken a number of radical positions. The ABA's president today didn't want to admit in a very public forum the full extent of the radical positions that her organization has taken. But what should be clear, Tim, is the ABA right now is the only federally recognized law school accreditor. And I think Congress and the administration have been taking actions to end that monopoly, but those actions need to be continued and expedited. Because the ABA has weaponized its accrediting power, literally holding the livelihoods of professors, students, staff in their hands, threatening to withdraw that accreditation if those entities do not comply with their radical DEI-linked demands.
And finally, Zach, the Supreme Court is being asked to consider a case that I'm sure is garnering a lot of attention in Appalachia and in some of the backwater areas of our nation. It is the prohibition against home distilling, the 158-year-old law. Where do you see that?
Well, you'll have to ask the Buckeye Institute about this. They have long championed, it's a think tank out of Ohio. They've long championed an overturning of this, essentially saying that it exceeds Congress's power under the Commerce Clause to ban home distilling. You may remember a similar type of argument was made in a case called Raich versus Gonzalez that involved the growth of marijuana, where an individual was growing marijuana solely for home consumption, home use. But the Supreme Court said the prohibition prohibition on marijuana was within Congress's Commerce Clause power. So essentially, they're being asked to revisit that. Now, as a teetotaler, this case may not have a direct impact on me, but it certainly presents a lot of very interesting legal issues and could have a lot of impact going forward on Congress's power to regulate a lot of activities that take place solely on an intra-state basis.
And that is Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. On X, he's at TZ Smith, heritage.org. And your other socials, Zack?
On YouTube and Instagram, at Zack on Law, at ZACK on Law.
Zack, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be watching for you on the television since you're a budding TV star now.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Take care, my friend. All right, 442, Chris's Corner, the widest wing of the Democratic Party. What does that mean? We'll dive into that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance, your one-stop shop for all your comprehensive healthcare needs at cchiropractic.com online, cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic is top-rated chiropractic care. They treat all the aches and pains that you might have or that you might think you might be developing. Yes, they can get ahead of stuff, right, too, because they can do a lot of maintenance work on you as well, whether it is neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, knee pain, arm and elbow. I list all those things because I've had all those pains, but I don't. They don't stick with me. I get treated. They go away. Isn't that so much better than talking about having your body cut up and having surgeries? I mean, look, sometimes you can't avoid surgery. Sometimes you do have severe enough injuries that may be the only possible intervention. But why start with that? Why not have that be a last resort? Why not treat your body holistically with comprehensive chiropractic like I have for many, many decades? I've been going and seeing Dr. Pat Fader. He's an awesome, awesome physician. He's a great doc. He's joined by Doctors Benton and Gorman. I see all of them because I don't know which ones you're going to have an appointment with. So I see all three docs. I'm like the guinea pig, right? And they've worked on me, and they have made me feel so much better. I've had all kinds of, I play a lot of golf. I walk and run a lot. I do a lot of yard work, a lot of repetitive motion kind of things with weed eating and chainsawing in the fall and stuff like that. And so as you get older, you develop those types of injuries, and they're able to treat those as well. They also have personal trainers. They also have Pilates and yoga classes. They have the studio facility upstairs at Comprehensive Chiropractic. It is a beautiful facility. It's got big, huge skylights, lots of natural light, small classes, great classes, licensed massage therapists. They can help you with your diet as well because they can talk to you about your supplement needs, and they actually sell supplements there. It's not like the store-bought junk. This is stuff to target specific things. That's why they'll talk to you. They want to know your whole person from top to bottom, inside and out. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com, at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people. And the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Ford 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom, 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, the Cadillac Ranch in Texas, and my personal connection to it.
Larry Connors USA.
Now weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
The widest wing of the Democratic Party. What if the political movement that talks the most about diversity has a diversity problem of its own? For years, the progressive left has lectured America about representation. Who has a seat at the table? Whose voices are being heard? Does the room look like America? Well, Congressman Jim Clyburn recently looked at a progressive rally in Michigan and apparently asked those same questions, and he didn't like the answer. Clyburn said, quote, "I saw a picture that concerned me coming out of Michigan. I saw the rally. I didn't see a single person that looks like me. That tells me all I need to know." That is not a conservative Republican talking. That's Jim Clyburn, one of the most influential black Democrats in America. And he just put his finger on a potentially serious problem for the progressive movement. The people who increasingly dominate progressive activism may not look or think like many of the minority voters they claim to represent. We're seeing that tension play out in Michigan's Democratic Senate primary. Progressive candidate Abdul El-Sayed has become a favorite of the party's left wing with support from Bernie Sanders and AOC. But recently polling reportedly showed El-Sayed leading among white voters, while his opponent, Haley Stevens, held a massive advantage among black voters. There's some irony here. A political movement obsessed with racial representation may have a candidate whose strongest support comes from white progressives, not black Democrats. And this isn't just about one rally or one Senate race. Black voters remain overwhelmingly Democratic. Let's be clear about that. But Donald Trump made gains among non-white voters in 2024, particularly among Hispanic voters, and research has also shown a long-term decline in the percentage of black Americans identifying specifically as Democrats. That doesn't mean black America is suddenly turning Republican, but it should raise an uncomfortable question for progressives. Are you actually listening to minority voters, or are you telling them what they're supposed to believe? Because black voters aren't on an ideological monolith. You can believe America still has racial problems and support capitalism. You can support civil rights and want violent criminals locked up. You can vote Democratic and still hold traditional religious and cultural values. And you can be far more concerned about grocery prices, schools, and neighborhood safety than whatever ideological debate is trending among progressive activists. That's where the disconnect may be growing. Progressive politics increasingly speaks about minorities as political categories, but people don't live their lives as categories, and there's something almost impossible to ignore about the irony of this movement. The progressive left constantly demands that everyone else examine the racial makeup of their organizations, their businesses, and their political movements. Well, maybe it's time they examine their own. Jim Clyburn looked at the Michigan rally and essentially asked, where are the black people? That's a question worth asking, because the political divide developing inside the Democratic Party may not simply be moderate versus progressive. It may be between a largely white progressive activist class and some of the very minority voters that class claims to speak for. Progressives have spent years demanding that America listen to black voices. Maybe they should take their own advice. Because when Jim Clyburn looks at your rally and says, I don't see a single person that looks like me, maybe the problem isn't the diversity of America. Maybe it's the diversity of your movement. And that is Chris's Corner. I ask you to follow me on Facebook at Christopher Arps Politics and on X, Chris_Arps. Progressives have a problem, Tim, and it's not only their ideology.
Chris, we've seen this movie play out time and time again. And have you noticed how the media conveniently ignores this fact? Like whether it's in Minnesota or Colorado or some of these other crazy leftist progressive areas, whenever they're marching for their rights and against oppression, it's largely these angry, very white, liberal females,
Yes.
you know?
College
So-
educated too, the elite.
College, yeah. Where do you think they learned all this stuff? I mean, we're training these little mini Marxists in our schools of higher education, and as Zack and I discussed, in our law schools as well. I mean, when you sit there and you beat people over the head with the oppression matrix every day for 4 years in college or for 3 years in 2 or 3 years in graduate school, what do you think they're eventually? The human mind can only take so much propagandizing, and then it starts believing it. It becomes like Stockholm syndrome. And so he's right. He's very right. Like, what do young, college-educated liberal women, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound sexist and misogynist. Chris, what do they know about being oppressed? I mean, they're the exact opposite of being oppressed. They've been given every privilege that America affords.
I agree. Tim, we're going to pivot.
And Chris, I'm
Go
proud
ahead.
to say
Mhm.
my daughters are not like that at all. Not at all. And, my wife's not overly political. And, she and I do not agree on everything, just like no husband and wife agrees on anything. But you know what we agreed that we would raise our children under a certain set of what we would argue would be bipartisan or nonpartisan values and beliefs. For instance, respect law enforcement, thank the military, be a good human being, right? Be kind to others. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Kind of like what Jesus said, render unto Caesar what's Caesar's, but unto God what is God's. And we raised them in a very, very religious home. And I think they've grown up to be very fine young ladies. And now that they're young adults, I'm happy to say that they have chosen on their own to continue to pursue their own theological and religious purposes. They're very involved in charitable operations. They respect the police and law enforcement. They thank the fact that we have servicemen and women willing to die for us. My daughters are very patriotic young ladies, but they're not overly political. You don't have to be both, right? You can be one, the other. You can be both. But, I don't understand people that are raised in some of the wealthiest zip codes in our country, go to some of the most expensive universities, and are largely able to do that because they come from wealthy families that have enjoyed the fruits of the free market system and capitalism. And Chris, they come out on the other side and they're like little Karl Marxes. It's unbelievable to me. I don't understand it.
I don't either. Hey, the couple of minutes we have left before the break, I want to dive into this controversy in the St. Charles County executive race. Joy?
Yeah, do tell.
Cut 7.
The fully AI-generated ad paid for by the third candidate, Jason Law, inspired, he says, by Spencer Pratt's mayoral race in L.A.
I wanted to get out the message in a more funny way.
But after we showed him the ad, Steve Ellman wasn't so amused.
The lies are what bother me the most. I've tried to be a statesman,
and not a stuntman. And this is a stunt.
Now, we also reached out to Bill Eigel, who said it was a dishonest portrayal in that ad and said there may need to be additional regulations on AI and elections in Missouri in the future.
I think the only real controversy here is using AI so that these characters look like Steve Edelman and look like Bill Eigel. But you can do that exact same ad with people that look like them and still give the same message that you gave in that ad. Your thoughts on this ad? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. So it's hard for me to comment on it. I heard about it. I heard Mike Ferguson talking about it the other day. You just played a clip from it. What's the complaint? Because Chris, this is happening everywhere, right? Yeah. I guess I'm having trouble. Can you explain why are they upset about this?
I think it's because, look, it's your standard political ad where you make accusations, you talk about somebody's record. Usually when you make those type of ads, it's a dark voice over voiceover, and you have a picture of the person that you're talking about with a black and white photo, or you use people that look similar to them, and the shot is far away, so it kind of looks like them, but it's not them. But you actually used AI that looks like them. I think that is the issue. But I really don't see much difference between using stunt doubles or people that look like them and giving the same message. It just so happens it looks like them.
Yeah, Elman's criticism is kind of the criticism we talk about with all of these ads, right? Like we don't like them, but this is just a different variation of something that's been done for decades. So welcome to the new world, I guess.
All right. Okay, we're going to have the Speaker Stump speech at 5:06. You have a special guest.
We have Jonathan Williams joining us, President, Chief Economist of the American Legislative Exchange Council. I'm at their conference right now. Jonathan's going to tell us all that's going on here.
And then at 5:23, we'll have Councilman Mike Archer in the studio talking about his resolution on prostate cancer awareness. And at the end of the show, AI and college cheating. I'll tell you all about that on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. There's no let-up in U.S. strikes on Iran.
The U.S. military completed an 11th night of strikes on Iran. Central Command saying the latest targets included aircraft hangars and drone storage sites. Iranian air defenses activated near the capital, Tehran, and Iran's state-run news agency reported explosions in half a dozen provinces. Before those strikes, Iran's interior minister had traveled to Pakistan, a key mediator. But at the White House Tuesday, President Trump told reporters,
"Until they're ready to meet in a meaningful way, we have no interest."
And the conflict appears to be widening. Yemen's Houthi rebels declaring a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia. I'm Ben Thomas.
Ukraine is pushing on with its fight against Russia under new military leadership.
President Volodymyr Zelensky fired his commander-in-chief after public pressure. This change follows a rift between the outgoing army chief and defense minister, both of whom lost their jobs. The new army chief, Major General Mikhailo Drupataya, is part of a new generation of Ukrainian generals. Zelensky has tasked Drupataya with updating the defense strategy. Street protests in Kyiv demanded the return of the tech-savvy defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drones have struck warehouses in Russia, targeting facilities they say are being used for drone production. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The House adopted a Republican-only $95 billion budget proposal, a long-shot effort to fund the Iran war and other White House priorities. Speaker Mike Johnson worked Wednesday to push it over objections from Democrats and some GOP holdouts as priority before the midterm elections. The package includes $73 billion for the Pentagon and other national security needs. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 6 points, the Nasdaq dropped 146, the S&P lower by 10. More at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options, debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
Paid for by Freedom Principal MO, Missouri First PAC. Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Looking for fine things for the fine people in your life? Look no further than Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. They can be found online at wowdiamonds.com. They're located right in the heart of the county of St. Louis, 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road. They have everything under one roof, and they are not a big, giant, sterile, big box store. They are a locally owned, independently owned, family owned St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. And even though they've been around a long, long time, they are still run by the Newsteaders family. They're on the second and third generations of Newsteaders running Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. They've got lab-grown diamonds. They got mine diamonds. They're both spectacular. They have awesome watches. I'm wearing my Frank Sinatra-themed Bulova watch right now that I purchased from Newsteaders. I've gotten some nice stuff for my wife from Newsteaders. My dad is a frequent flyer with my mom at Newsteaders. Newsteaders, the reason people go back to Newsteaders again and again is because the Newsteaders difference. It's a family-owned business, like I said. They make you feel very warm. They don't overwhelm you with jewelry jargon. And they'll work within your budget, whatever that budget might be. Fine jewelry does not mean expensive jewelry. We got lots of stuff going on right now, right? There's weddings and anniversaries and birthday parties and all kinds of celebrations. Get something really fine that won't just be discarded and forgotten about. Get something that will be a legacy, that will be remembered and cherished for generations. That's at Newsteaders Fine Jewelers for all that and so much more. They're at wowdiamonds.com. That's Newsteaders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
All of these green energy mandates are really regressive taxes on working class people. It's why people in droves and in the millions are leaving blue states like New York, like California, New Jersey, and Illinois. And if they don't, and Trump just said this, by the way, I don't know if you saw his tweet, he said, these blue states are going to have to change or they're going to get bled to death. And that's actually true. That's what's happening day after day after day, and yet they still don't change.
Yeah. Only the poorest and the millionaire socialists will be there. The middle class is going to go away.
508 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and that is famous economist Stephen Moore is talking about people leaving blue states over green energy mandates. My partner Tim Jones is in Orlando, Florida at the ALEC conference, and he will be hearing from Stephen Moore tomorrow. And we're going to be hearing from another gentleman that's attending ALEC. He is actually the president and chief economist of ALEC. He's going to be joining us real soon, right, Tim?
I believe so. He is going to be the subject of today's speaker's stump speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Jonathan, you've hit the big time. You're the subject of today's speaker's stump speech. How about that?
Well, how about that? Here it is, a great week already, and I've just won another recognition I didn't know about. That's amazing.
Jonathan,
the awards.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, the awards and accolades just keep coming in. Chris?
Jonathan, I think we're going to have to give you some type of award. You know, they talked about the late Lindsey Graham. He made 63 appearances on Meet the Press. I think you're about at that number with us here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and we're always glad to have you.
Well, thank you. It's always good to be with you guys, and it's a great week here, as you can probably tell from talking with Tim, Chris. It's a lot of patriotic adrenaline right now with about 1,800 of our closest free market friends from all 50 states.
Yeah, Jonathan, I was telling Chris earlier that ALEC has set a new record with over 1,600 attendees. You just mentioned that we're approaching 1,800 because we always have a lot of folks that are just kind of walk-ins or last minute, or they weren't sure if they could come, and then their schedules allow them to do so. So we're approaching 1,800 attendees for an annual meeting, which I know is a record. We have representatives and senators and policy people and staff and spouses and kids. There's a kids' congress at ALEC. And Jonathan, ALEC starts with its foundational motto, doesn't it? Its mission to promote free markets, limited government, and federalism. Who could be against that?
Well, you would think, right? And there's a great piece that I encourage everybody to check out. We hear a lot about the differences between socialism and capitalism, but our friend Lee Habib just has a piece in Newsweek that's just up in the last day or so here talking about socialism versus federalism, one of those three core ALEC tenets that you just mentioned, Tim. And the whole idea of that, of course, is when competition happens, socialism doesn't stand a chance. And again, competition happens every single day at the state level. And that's exactly what we're all about at ALEC, is fostering good policy competition, whether it's taxes or education freedom or energy policy. The states, whether they like it or not, are direct competition with each other in these laboratories of democracy. And of course, there's no such thing as a state building a wall to keep people and keep capital in. And as much as New York or California or Illinois might like that, it just doesn't work that way. And so when states can compete, at the end of the day, people can win, right? Because they get to choose their best outcome for them and their families and their style of life.
Speaking with Jonathan Williams, he of course is the president and chief economist of the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC. Jonathan, what would you say is the theme of this year's conference there in Orlando?
Well, today in the opening session, we heard from some great Florida leaders just talking about the freedom mentality here in Florida and what other states can glean from it. Obviously, as we know, Florida's been one of America's just superstars over the last couple of decades as a growth state where, millions of people are voting with their feet and coming to Florida, the free state of Florida, as Governor DeSantis likes to call it. But that didn't happen by accident. That was a lot of years of hard work, really starting with Jeb Bush and education freedom, but so many of our great ALEC leaders who have been working in the trenches to continue to enhance freedom in the state. And so that was our theme today. We heard from Hugh Hewitt on the main stage and Erica Donalds, potentially a future first lady of the state of Florida with her husband Byron Donalds in his governor effort right now. But I mean, it's just been an incredible success story. But tomorrow I have the opportunity to interview one of my real policy heroes over the years, and that was former U.S. Senator Phil Gramm from Texas, who happens to be a PhD economist also, in addition to his time in the Senate and chair of the Banking Committee, and just so much of the work that he did on deregulation over the years. And so, the themes of the conference are just how much freedom works in places like Florida, but also all the other key ALEC priorities such as education freedom, and economic opportunity, and energy independence, and just affordability issues across the board.
Jonathan, I got to ask you, Tim, right quickly.
Yeah,
Did
sure.
Senator Graham say his famous quip that we have more people in the wagon than pulling the wagon? He used to say that all the time when he was in the Senate.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll see if I can get a few of those good lines out of him tomorrow. He is a fount of wisdom and just some great Texas humor as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that session. And, you can go to the ALEC website and watch along. We'll be recording all those main stage sessions at alec.org as well.
Jonathan, it's great to be in Florida, the land of freedom, no state income tax. We'll have to talk about that in relation to Missouri's big decision that we have before us to do the same thing potentially. Big ballot proposition, Amendment 5, that I've been telling you all about, that I know you're aware of. So it's great to be in Florida. It's a wonderful state. There's always so much going on here. They build a new theme park every time we come down here. But ALEC is also... we're also learning, Jonathan, aren't we? This is like a real conference. Like, we started this morning at 7:30 in the morning with our state chairs breakfast, and then there were workshops and task forces and all sorts of fascinating meetings throughout the day, AI and innovation, energy, issues regarding our rural areas, our suburban areas. What were some of the highlights for you from today's first full jam-packed day of the ALEC annual meeting with, as you mentioned, these close to 1,800 participants?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. You mentioned a lot of the really important issues there. Lots of discussion around data centers as it relates to energy issues and AI, of course, and how to tackle those issues going forward. Today was just a great day in that you mentioned the state chairs meeting where we have the men and women who are leaders of ALEC from every single state across the country who are here talking about, what they're hearing from voters, what they're hearing from their constituents. For us, it's a great opportunity as an organization that we're not a top-down organization. question. We hear from our legislative members. We hear their priorities. We hear the challenges that they're working on. And a lot of commonalities develop, including things like property taxes, things like, how do you address the affordability issue, housing prices, tax policy across the board. But then, hearing about education freedom and just some of the, even, one of the things I took away today was sometimes even in the red states that have done education freedom, there's still a lot of regulatory barriers to things like charter schools or new micro schools. That was something that Erica Donalds talked about today, even the regulations she had to navigate in Florida or trying to expand in Texas. And so I think a ton of really needed attention being placed on regulatory burdens as well. So it's just something for everybody, clearly, at any of these ALEC meetings, and I expect the same tomorrow and Friday.
Jonathan, some of the detractors of Amendment 5, they criticize the argument that supporters make that people move to states that have zero to low income taxes. Can you address that?
Well, they're certainly not moving to states that have high income taxes, I can tell you that. And they're moving away from states like California, New York, and others that have had the highest income tax rates. And that's something that we've documented in rich states, poor states for 20 years now. But they absolutely are moving to places like Florida, Texas, Tennessee as the three big no income tax states. And this is something that's been going on for a very long time. And we're not talking about small amounts of people. I mean, right after the pandemic, as we heard today, there were on average 1,600 people per day moving to the state of Florida from one of the other 49 states. I mean, that's what the smell of freedom gives you, right? I mean, as people want more of it, they want a better quality of life at a lower cost of life, and it's just an incredible success story. And so people could ignore the data all they want. Don't take just my word for it or rich states, poor states. Look at the U-Haul data from the middle class folks that are driving themselves and moving from state to state. That shows a very similar trend of people leaving high tax states and going to low tax states, especially those without income taxes. And if you don't take that either of the data points, even people like Jamie Dimon, chair of JP Morgan Chase, CEO there, has talked about how even in the financial services industry, once thought about only being able to operate in Manhattan, now says that they have more employees in the state of Texas than they do in the state of New York. And talking to another major company today, they just talked about how they have more employees in Florida than they do in the state of New York because of so many of these policies that have just gone awry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jonathan, with Amendment 5, one of the biggest fears, maybe complaints we hear about Missouri's Amendment 5, which I know you've taken a look at, it does include in black and white a procedure for eliminating the income tax. We've been stepping down the income tax, as you know, something you and I worked on when I was in the legislature, and that's been very successful. The budget has not had any holes blown into it. In fact, many think the budget's grown too high, so to the point where we need to cut more of the income tax, which is why we're at Amendment 5. But Jonathan, the biggest complaint we hear is, what's this deal about eliminating the income tax, providing property tax relief, which is also in the bill, but moving to a consumption-based system? Jonathan, not all systems of taxation are created equal, right? And from what I've heard from folks like Dr. Aaron Hedlund and from you over the years, is the income tax is an insidious tax. It's a horrible, it's a really bad tax. Whereas consumption taxes put the taxpayer in charge of what they decide they want to spend their money on. Any comments on that, the two systems of taxation we're talking about here with Amendment 5?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tim, is that all taxes hurt, right? And just some matter more than others, and some hurt more than others when it comes to the overall drag on the economy. And when you look at the ones that matter the most, I mean, it's clearly the personal income tax is one of the most important variables for state-by-state growth as an opportunity state for individuals. But one of the things that people forget about is almost all the net new job creation in America now over a long period of time, it happens because of startup entrepreneurs and small businesses. And the vast majority, I think, Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, probably 99+% of all the small businesses in Missouri pay their income tax on the individual side of the income tax versus the corporate side. And so when you can reduce or eliminate personal income taxes, you're helping wage earners and families, and that's really important, but you're also helping the lifeblood of job creation and small business and Main Street. And that's something that gets forgotten oftentimes when it comes to these debates to say, hey, this is just for wealthy taxpayers or whatever. And of course, that's easily debunked. But the important piece piece of this is the kind of business sector that is the lifeblood of small communities and main streets all across America, and it's where we get all the new job creation. And so that's a really important point. It's not just us, it's the White House studies that have been done by Aaron Hebland and other great economists across the board.
Tim, I'll give you the final word.
Jonathan, what is up next? And at ALEC, I know there's some real notable VIPs that legislators will be able to listen and learn from over the next couple of days. So what are the next big highlights? And Jonathan, why should our listeners, most of whom are not in the elected public policy space, why is ALEC important as an institution, to their lives?
Well, I think from a speaker perspective, we're going to have Governor Kevin Stitt from Oklahoma, one of your competitor states, that's been doing a great job at cutting taxes and becoming more competitive. And actually in law, as you know, Tim, they have in place a phase out of their personal income tax that they just passed in the last legislative session. So he's going to be here to talk about that and other issues. I'm personally very excited to see that we're going to have Dr. Oz here with us tomorrow on the keynote stage to talk about some of his work in the Trump administration and his efforts to really address the waste, fraud, and abuse in government that we see everywhere. Clearly, some major problems with that in Washington, despite the best efforts. They're doing the Lord's work and trying to continue to peel that back, but also at the state level. And this is where we've been very active as an ALEC organization with our ALEC Government Efficiency Coalition, trying to find that waste, fraud, and abuse to protect taxpayers in all 50 states as well. And to that end, it kind of answers your other piece of the question there, which is, Americans across the board, ALEC exists to provide you sound advice on how your state ranks and what you can do to make your state a more prosperous state, make more job creation, and give yourself a better standard of living at a lower cost of living. And the proof is in the pudding when it comes to now 50 plus years of research that ALEC would put together.
And that's Jonathan Williams, President and Chief Economist of the American Legislative Exchange Council. He's at alec.org, and his X is Tax Economist. Jonathan, I almost said taxidermist, but I see a tax economist.
I've been called worse. That's all right. It's great to be with you guys today.
Thank you for your time. All right, coming up, Tim and I are going to speak with St. Louis County Councilman Mike Archer. We're going to talk about his resolution on prostate cancer awareness. And as you know, that's kind of personal for me. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty.
The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Your new favorite roofing company in St. Louis is Correll Roofing Company, CorrellRoofingCo.com, Correll. That's 2 R's, 2 L's, CorrellRoofingCo.com. Curtis Correll, the owner, the founder, the man with the plan, is a guy who's got now, he's now in his third decade of roofing in the St. Louis region. Correll Roofing Company does roofing and siding and gutters and anything you need for the exterior of your home. Schedule an inspection today if you're worried about any of the storms and stuff that have come through the area. CorrellRoofingCo.com, CorrellRoofingCo.com. You can go to their office. They are not a fly-by-night operation. Why would you trust your homestead, for most people, our biggest and most prized asset, to some fly-by-night storm chaser outfit? Correll Roofing Company is locally owned, independently owned, family owned. They will take care of you from the beginning of the process till long after the very end. They've got awesome craftsmen. They know what they're doing, decades in the roofing business, and they're going to be here for a long time to come. this is the operation you should be calling, not anybody else. They will also work with your insurance company, not at odds with them. You can trust them. They're awesome people. They're great Americans. We personally know them, and they're wonderful folks. CorelRoofingCo.com, 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 your one-stop roofing shop.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together, we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The prostate is a walnut-sized gland tied to men's reproductive health. Statistics say 1 out of 8 men will get prostate cancer, but black men face an even higher risk.
Prostate cancer is a very common malignancy among African American men, and the incidence rate is 1 in 6 African American men are going to be diagnosed with prostate cancer compared to 1 in 8.
528 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show, and I've got to tell you, I've learned more about the prostate than I ever thought I would learn these past 6 months, Tim. As you all know, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer late last year. Went through treatment. It is in remission, and I am happy about that. And in studio with us is Councilman Mike Archer, and he has presented a resolution to the St. Louis County Council on prostate cancer awareness. Councilman, welcome into the studio. Good to see you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Before we get into our more serious business, I'm just telling you right now, no. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
No.
You are a Renaissance man. You're a councilman. You're an attorney. You're also a pilot. And you have asked me many times to get in the plane with you. So I'm just saying right here now, no.
No. No, and I'm supposed to fly Saturday morning, and I'm looking at the thunderstorms, and I'm like, that would not be a good time for me to invite you to go.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So yeah, but so the answer is still no.
Still no.
Oh,
still no. No, it's nothing
Mike,
personal.
I'll go with you anytime, as you know.
It's nothing
I'm
personal.
crazy like that.
I hear you, but I'm not even probably going to go Saturday with the thunderstorms. Planes planes do not fly well when the wings get ripped off.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Don't need to be a physics major to figure that one out.
Exactly.
Well, we talked about prostate cancer, and I got to tell you, I had no symptoms at all. I hadn't been to the doctor in probably 40 years. My wife admonished me to go. I finally decided to go. Found out I had prostate cancer. I went through all of the treatment. Luckily, Councilman, it didn't spread. And I think they have talked about my 5-year survival rate is like 95, 98%, something like that, because I caught it early.
Because you did catch it early. And actually, your story, I heard it on the radio, touched me because we're friends. And then I look back on my own family history with my father dying of prostate cancer, 2 paternal uncles dying of prostate cancer, and then a maternal uncle dying of that disease. And then Robin, my wife, was like, when was the last time you were checked? And I'm like, so then I am now very consistent. And then I thought that this would be a good public awareness campaign with the resolution and saying, look, early detection means everything. And, about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with colon cancer and pre-colon cancer, and they eliminated that, and that's been 10 years. So, the early diagnosis, the early detection, and it's a situation of where after COVID, they found out that men's life expectancy is actually decreased by 2 years. And when we have the technology to make these early diagnoses, it's just stupid that we don't. And we were talking a little bit off air about, we're guys, we don't do that sort of thing. And when you get hurt in sports, rub some dirt on a boy, you're going to be better. And that's the way that we grew up, that we don't cry, we don't talk about mental health issues, we don't talk about health issues, period. And this brings more awareness for us to get tested, for us to, avail ourselves of this technology so that we can have the early diagnoses and actually have some good results. And my PSA is 1.12, and it looks like that, I'm going to be, going on the path of righteousness. But still, it's one of those where you have to be vigilant about your own health, and guys just don't do that.
That's true. Tim?
And Mike, this is a great time in human history, especially in the United States of America, to make sure you take care of your health, right? Because we hear about medical advancements every single week where if you do go to the doctor, and I'm one of those people that, did not for a long time, and I finally got back into the swing of things and primary care physician. And yeah, I'm getting older, so there's a few things I have to attend to, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. I survived the visit. It's all good. And if you do catch things early, right, Mike, there's so much more that can be done these days to make sure that you, that even if you have something that's maybe not the best news, there's so many new treatments to combat diseases and conditions to provide people nice, long lifetimes. But you have to make sure you know what you're dealing with first.
Exactly, Tim. And, the other thing that I want to point out is that it's not only your lifespan, but your quality of life. And if things are detected early, you can have, the treatment, and like you pointed out, Tim, it may not be, a bed of roses going through the treatment, but by the same token, at the other end, just as, Chris has, he's here and he's vibrant and good looking as always.
Your check's in the mail.
Okay, well, thank you.
One of the things that, and I'll admit, that made me apprehensive about going to the doctor was, one, I'm a man. That's just what we do.
Right.
But I was apprehensive about what I thought would be the one-finger salute exam to determine if you have prostate issues. And it's not that at all. They don't do that anymore. It's just a simple blood test now.
Would you please talk to my doctor, who's 6'4" with very long fingers? And it's also one of those situations of where, with my ex-wife, I went through 3 pregnancies and I saw a gynecological exam, and we have no room to complain.
Right.
We have absolutely no room to complain about a digital rectal exam.
I'm glad you said it.
But by the same token, and Tim pointed out, the technological advances in medicine, they can detect that by a blood test.
Yeah.
And sometimes the PSAs will detect that sooner than than the other exam that we were just alluding to, and I'll leave it at that. So yeah. So.
Mike, while we've got you, of course, we want to ask you about your other gig, your county council gig. What is the latest? Is there any greatest, or what is happening lately? I guess we can start officially discussing the countdown clock of the end days of Sam Page, right?
Yeah, Mark Harder and I already have a countdown clock for that. I suggested that we do what we did in the military on a countdown. Take a roll of toilet paper and just mark it off the days, and then every day we come in, we rip off another day. And we're going to have some serious issues, Tim, and I will keep you guys informed as we get closer to the budget season, because the county executive has to submit the budget in October, and it's going to be very interesting to see what he submits as a proposed budget. And he's been throwing grenades left and right, and the meeting last night was no exception, because we've had trouble getting information out of the Department of Health, and we actually issued subpoenas for people to come and talk to us about the budget issues. And then he had a whole tirade about the fact of, I'm not going to be bullied, my directorates aren't going to be bludgeoned, we're not going to be doing this, we're not going to be doing that. And I'm like, well, if there's a court order there, I think you are going to be doing it. And that's the only way that we can get information, Tim. And it's really a sad state of affairs that this relationship has deteriorated so much.
Councilman, before we get into some more council business, you want to read a little bit of the resolution? I'm sure there are probably a lot of whereases in there.
Right. And Tim's a recovering lawyer. Tim is a recovering lawyer. Unfortunately, I'm still practicing. Says, whereas despite advances in medical technology, research, men continue to live an average of 5 years less than women, with Native American and Black men having the lowest life expectancy. And whereas June marks Men's Health Month, which is part of an ongoing international effort to educate men, boys, and their families about receiving regular disease prevention screenings, and whereas nationwide men experience higher rates of health problems such as diabetes, obesity, cancer, heart disease, and premature mortality, and that COVID actually dropped men's life by expectancy of 2 years. So what they are asking for is that we recognize June as Men's Health Month. Obviously, we're a little bit late with that, but it goes on to say that there's a growing epidemic of suicide and substance abuse that requires special effort to raise awareness of unrecognized and undiagnosed depression and mental stress in boys and men, and educating the public about the importance of a healthy lifestyle and early detection of male health problems can reduce mortality rates. And it's one of those where, we go back to the basic thing of, and I hear the libs talk about toxic masculinity. Yeah. And this actually kind of fits into toxic masculinity, that we won't admit that, we may have some mental health issues. We won't admit that something's just not quite right, and we won't admit that we need to go to the doctor or have regular checkups. So, but anyway, that's what's going on with that. And I just want to raise, the awareness of the listeners about getting regular checkups. And like Tim pointed out earlier, that early detection, and you're living proof of that.
I am so glad that, that I went when my wife told me to go, and I did, and we found it early. I went to ChatGPT just trying to do some research, and I was fortunate that I had a slow-growing prostate cancer. Right. Some of them are very aggressive. Some of them are slow-growing. It said that this probably started like 3 years ago.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
When the cancer started, and it didn't spread.
Right. Excellent.
Tim?
Are you up for election this year, Mike?
No, I'm not. I've got the
praise God, right?
I've got the popcorn, and I'm sitting in my easy chair watching the Democrats flail at one another.
Well, and Mike, talk about this dynamic. Sam Page is so bad that he has created an alliance between most of the county council, right? I know there's always one lunatic liberal outside
Right.
looking in, but Sam Page is so bad. It's bipartisan, right? There's a bipartisan group of you all who have been working together really well over the last few years to actually try and run the county a professional way. And that's how Sam Page is. He's brought Democrats and Republicans together.
And it's just amazing. And that is about the only thing that we can unite on. And in terms of the other issues that we have, Tim, is that, when you talk about a pothole, now, is that pothole a Republican problem or a Democratic problem? At our level, we have so many nonpartisan issues that we need to have resolved. Safety of the community, the education, the tax base, so that we can fund the schools. Those are nonpartisan issues. You go to, Chairwoman Days' district, that's what they want. You go to my district, that's what they want. You go to Gretchen Bangert's district, that's what people want, regardless of ethnicity, gender, religious orientation. They just want a fair shot at it, and they want to live in a safe community.
Councilman, I want to close with you with the big elephant in the room question regarding St. Louis County. What is going to happen with the Lawrence K. Roos building? I know that it has a bunch of asbestos in it. The city of Clayton has said that it needs major upgrades, that the county budget doesn't have the money for it. There's been talk of moving county government to Northwest Plaza. What eventually is going to happen, do you think?
Well, what eventually is going to happen is we're going to get a bid for sprinklers. And what the city of Clayton is concerned about are the sprinklers, and that's it. And they said it was going to take, I think $200 million to do the sprinkler retrofit. And we've got 7 floors, and the sprinklers, from our estimates, range anywhere from 900 to 1.2 for each floor.
Wow.
So what we're talking about doing is possibly getting other space, moving the people there, getting that building retrofitted, and bringing that up to code. It is such a mess right now in terms of, the county executive fighting us and getting us good, reliable information, again, about how much it's going to cost. And we're just going to go out and get our own bids for the sprinklers and the asbestos remediation.
And that is Councilman Mike Archer. He is the councilman for the 6th District there in South County. And Councilman, I want to personally thank you for offering this resolution as a cancer survivor. Men need to have that test, get this checked out. If you do get prostate cancer, it is such a curable cancer, especially if you catch it early. And I want to thank you for your efforts on trying to bring awareness to that. Before we let you go, give the audience your socials, number, emails, if people want to yell at you, contact you.
Well, that's all part of the job. That is all part of the job. If they want to contact me, it's 314-615-5442, and it's marcher@stlouiscountymo.gov.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Thank you.
We will be in touch with you, of course, to talk more about St. Louis County in the coming days and weeks. Coming up, end of the show, AI and college cheating. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
You got to have a mother for me. Yeah. Come on. Look here. There was a time when I was all alone. I had a secret.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American
American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Becky and I have discovered a restaurant that's quickly become one of our go-to restaurants. You hear me talking about it daily. Timothy's in Creve Coeur. What I love is the atmosphere and the ambience. They're absolutely terrific. It's the kind of place where you can really relax and go and enjoy a great meal. Timothy's is led by executive chef Will Mabry, and Timothy serves contemporary American cuisine with a touch of Southern charm. Dishes like pastrami, smoked lamb, and shrimp and grits. My wife absolutely loved the lobster pot pie, and everything we've tried has been absolutely incredible. Timothy's also features amazing house-made desserts, and they have over 600 wines to choose from. Enjoy dinner 7 nights a week, plus lunch, brunch, and private events. Timothy's in Belleville Plaza in Creve Coeur at 12710 Olive Boulevard, or online at timothysstl.com.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your Politicians Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people. And the Politicians Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the Politicians Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
I want to share something with you. Cooking a pizza using coal creates an amazing pizza. Only one place to get it, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. Of course, they offer a wide variety of pasta, but you just visit the website napolistl.com, dine in or take out, and get ready for patio season. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley. Try it. You can thank me later.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
OpenAI says it was testing the capabilities of some of its advanced models in a controlled environment.
But the program escaped that environment, hacking the company called Hugging Face to try to satisfy its testing goal. OpenAI called this breakout an unprecedented cyber incident involving state-of-the-art cyber capabilities and says it is reinforcing its safeguards to prevent similar incidents.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, the councilman, is going to stick with us at the end of the show, till the end of the show. I don't know about you guys, but every time I hear one of these type of stories, I think of Space Odyssey 2001. When the guy says, when Hal says, "I'm sorry, Tom, I can't do that." Open the door, Hal. "I'm sorry, I can't do that." Are we approaching that situation, Tim, do you think?
Now, Tim, he is in Orlando, and he's at a dinner, remember?
Oh, I thought he was still there.
No,
all
we
right.
kicked him to the curb so Mike Archer could host the show. He's actually in the driver's seat right now.
I thought all three of us were going to do that. What do you think about this, Councilman? Are you scared of AI? Do you use it in your work, your legal work? Do you use it at the county council?
Well, the county council defies explanation about AI, so we have no basis for the AI. But I can tell you that I have received some pleadings from people that aren't lawyers, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good. And it is kind of scary. And for those of us that remember movies, I just keep thinking about Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger and coming back. And I'm like, that's just a little scary because some of the things that AI can do, and we were talking off air about how that it can take the images and manipulate them as well too. And that is just really scary because they could have me doing all sorts of things.
You know, speaking of law cases, there's been examples where people have used AI to make law briefs and all that. And then when you go through it, AI is like making up cases and cases that don't even exist. And when the judge is like, wait a minute, that's not a real case.
Exactly. And attorneys have actually been sanctioned and lost their licenses for that, for citing cases that don't exist.
Can't they just blame it on AI?
Oh yeah, that goes real well when you sign your name to the pleadings. So yes,
Councilman, a Brown University economist who suspected students of using AI to cheat on take-home exams said he was proven right after he made the final in person. The average midterm score on Robert Serrano's test was 96% compared to a historical range of 65 to 80%, and many answers seemed AI generated. After announcing the in-person final, 18 of 86 students dropped the class, 9 skipped the final, and the average was 48.6%. Serrano avoided the midterm. Concerns of widespread cheating have prompted universities to change policies. Princeton abandoned its 133-year-old honor code tradition of not supervising exams. Councilman, I know that the statute of limitations have probably run out. Did you ever cheat in your law school or college exams?
No, we really couldn't because your exams, you had one at the end of the semester, and that was like a 4-hour exam where you just wrote the answers. Now, you know, if I would have had it with AI, I don't know how you could even access that. For a law school exam. The other thing is that I'm now an adjunct professor and teach economics. We'll be teaching economics, and most of our tests are standardized, and we just run it through a computer so we don't have to sit and drink beer and grade the exams at night. So I don't know how AI would help the students there either. But and it's like I was telling Joey, and Joey just kind of gave me a look. He didn't know what I was talking about. But I said, Cliff Notes was the closest thing that we came to, in terms of cheating or trying to figure out what was going on in a particular book or story. You'd grab the Cliff Notes when I was in college.
I'm learning new things about you every day. So the adjunct professorship, you want to talk about where that's at when you start?
Merrimack Community College in August. So, yeah.
How did that gig work out? How'd you get into
well,
that?
You
bored? You don't have enough to do practicing law and being a county councilman? Now you want to teach the youth too?
Well, that's true, and I've always enjoyed teaching. If you look back on my resume, it's one of those of I've been teaching since about 82.
Oh, okay.
So I enjoy teaching. I'm probably going to be scaling back on the law practice. And then after I took this job, Robin was just like, so I'm not going to have a husband now. That was her first comment. She was happy that I got it, but she was like, well, there goes my husband. So, yeah.
You know, my mother, my late mother, did some adjunct professor work at Missouri Baptist, and she was really shocked how students have changed over the years. These students were entitled. They wanted A grades. They were nitpicking everything that she did in terms of grading them. Are you anxious about the new breed of students that you'll be facing? These aren't your yesteryear students.
I've dealt with that before, and I've been known to be a little tough. Let me put it that way. Right. So I just no. It's like if in my standard line is if I'm putting my name on your grade, you're going to know the material.
I hear you. Councilman, are you do you do a lot of social media?
No, I really don't. I read Facebook. Robin is the one that is really the savvy person. I'm like Instagram. I don't know what that is. I don't know what X is. And basically, my 18-year-old granddaughter helps me with the IT stuff. So, and as does Robin, and as does, her son. So, no, I am not technologically savvy.
The reason I ask that, there has been a lot of controversy regarding TikTok because it was owned by a Chinese company. Apparently, they were bought by an American company, so supposedly it's safe. Now, President Trump announced today that members of his cabinet will be joining TikTok. The Justice Department told federal employees it was safe to use the app because of its sale to a U.S.-approved owner. I still don't trust it. I think Chinese still have their hand in it somehow.
Oh, and technologically, I think they could tap into it. And quite truthfully, TikTok is very safe with me because I don't use it. But it's also one of those situations of where I agree with you, Chris, because if China already has their hand in it, there may be a back door or something. Now I'm going to another movie, War Games, where there was a back door and almost created a nuclear war. But irrespective of that, I don't trust it. I still don't. I'm in your camp.
Councilman, in your profession, you deal with a lot of ethics. You have to have that in your profession.
Right.
There is a company called Colossal Biosciences. Never heard of them. They are a, quote, de-extinction company, and they're seeking to recreate the dire wolf and the woolly mammoth. Your thoughts on that? Should we bring back the dire wolf and the woolly mammoth?
I think we should leave well enough alone. I really do. Because we should leave well enough alone because there was a reason that God wanted those creatures extinct. And I keep going back to movies.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Jurassic Park, where everybody in the theater cheered when the Tyrannosaurus Rex ate the lawyer.
You take that personal?
I kind of took it personally, especially when he was having to go to the bathroom. Of all times to I be eaten alive.
We need to have you back on Fridays because Joey is our resident movie critic.
I know that.
He's a professional, so we can talk movies with him.
Oh, this is true.
All right. Larry Connors, that's Councilman Mike Archer. Thank you for ending the show with us. Next is Larry Connors USA. The story behind the story, the Cadillac Ranch in Texas. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The law